I'm Evan Yeager, and I'm the producer of the film Everyone Else is Different. This film follows my brother through a short interview and then a couple of scenes where you kind of get to see his life and his struggle, or I wouldn't say struggle, but his living with autism. Autism is a spectrum disorder. It affects your social capabilities and other aspects of your life. Like it can affect mathematics and learning because of those social abilities. So,
what's your name?
Colin Yeager.
And how old are you, Colin?
18 years old.
And what school do you go to?
Owen J. Roberts.
Tell me something interesting about yourself.
I'm autistic.
How do you feel that you're different from everybody else?
Well, let's see here. I tend to complain more, whine more, and normally people would love, I dislike. Normally people would ignore the heat. I dislike the heat. I dislike sweating. I dislike being cold. I don't like being cold at home. I hate doing chores by hand. No one else would complain about that. And also,
what are some things that you think that you struggle with because of autism?
criticism, manners, and politics. And also when people yell at me for no apparent reason whatsoever.
How do you feel when people yell at you for no apparent reason?
Angry. I just want to crush them.
What are some common interests of yours?
Horseback riding, diecast trucks, and history.
And tell me about, what do you like about history?
Well, that there's so much you've never known. And what I do like is how long something's existed. And not forgetting about what was once there, how a dollar was made.
And what are die-cast trucks?
Trucks are made from metal to look exactly like the replica truck you see outside. Or made to look awesome or cooler.
What do you like about horseback riding?
Let's see, probably the trotting. Good old trot.
Do kids in school ever give you problems?
Yes, they do.
Give me some examples.
Well, they'll say they'll be my friend, but to do that I have to give them food and stuff so they appreciate me, and I can't talk like them, and I have to obey everything they say in order to be accepted into their groups. And then they just hate me and give me flat out crap.
Why?
Because they think that I'm not good enough with them.
So, Colin, what is your favorite subject?
History.
And what do you like about history?
Well, I'm good at memorizing dates.
Can I list off some events in history and you can tell me their dates?
Sure.
Okay, what was the beginning and end of World War II?
1939 to 1945.
World War I?
1914 to 1918.
Vietnam War?
1959 to 1973.
Cold War?
1946 to 91.
And JFK assassination?
November 22nd, 1963, Dallas, Texas.
That's very impressive. How did you first find out about Colin's autism?
Well, when Colin was very young, he was very different from his two older brothers. They had, spoken when they were like 12 months old. They started using a lot of different words, and Colin wasn't doing that. He was very frustrated, and he couldn't get his words. So I took him to the pediatrician, and the pediatrician told me not to worry at all, that everything was just fine with Colin and that he would start talking. But I went a step further and went to a pediatric neurologist, and she told me that Colin did need help with something called expressive language delay, and we got him into a special preschool, and then he was able to, learn how to speak. He actually had to use sign language in the beginning for a little bit, but then he didn't have as much frustration because he was able to find his words, and that's pretty much how I found out that there was something different.
What's one thing that you want the audience watching this to learn?
I would definitely want them to realize that having a child, with autism it's like a blessing, because Colin has such a unique way of looking at things, and some of the things that he says to me are just, I'm amazed, because it's almost like a different kind of intelligence. So it's just a great thing, and I think anybody would realize they would be lucky to have a person like Colin in their life, because he just enriches everything about my life. And you know, just because someone has a challenge or a disability doesn't mean they don't have a lot to offer, you know, and they can offer that to their families, to their employers, to their school, and Colin definitely does that in his life.
What is it like having a brother with autism?
You know, there were some advantages and there were some disadvantages to it. I mean, obviously some of the advantages are you kind of get to see someone in a completely different light, like more different than the average, like goes home, goes out with friends and stuff like that. You get to see, goes home, collects, does obviously the stuff that he talks about in the video. And the disadvantages to it are like, well, he's frustrating to deal with sometimes. Like, not a lot of people understand when I get mad at him, because it just looks like I'm being mean to a kid that requires special education and stuff like that. So,
how has your brother's disability affected your life?
to be honest with you, like completely 100% honest here, because obviously we're in an interview, and yeah, but it's small and bigger things. Like, I feel like Colin, obviously coming back to that good or advantage and disadvantage thing, he helps me in some ways and hurts me in other ways. He helps me, like his personality is really outgoing, and that kind of creates a outgoing atmosphere for me, because my entire family accepts him and I accept him, and that kind of creates, I don't know, his personality kind of bleeds over into my personality a little bit, which creates me to be a more outgoing character. But I mean, a disadvantage to Colin's autism that affects me is you see favoritism in the family, but you can understand where it comes from. So you have a reason that you can't argue. If there's one closing note we'd like to leave you all with, it is that everyone else is different in their own special way. No one is perfect, and no one is exactly the same. And I hope that Colin has taught you all that. Thank you for watching.